Welcome back to Detroit Wants to Know. We're coming to you this week from Action Impact Shooting Range in East Point, Michigan. Why East Point? Well, it's right across the street from the 48205 and the 48234. My guest is Bill Cusick, the owner, impresario of this wonderful, amazing shooting range. Thank you for having us here this week.
Well, thank you for being here, Steve.
I took my CPL course with you. It was a very good course.
Thank you.
You offered us some scenarios during that course, and you said you can't use a CPL unless it's a life-threatening situation.
Well, what I said is you can't use deadly force unless you face immediate risk of life-threatening injury or death. And that deadly force, certainly when you're talking about firearms, that in fact is deadly force. But the law doesn't distinguish firearms from any other type of deadly force. So the message that I strongly deliver to all my students is, you, under the law, can only use deadly force when you or another face immediate risk of life-threatening injury or death.
So that bank robbery, real close to here, up in, I guess it was just a little bit down in Macomb County. The guy was in the bank, a guy tried to rob it, and the guy with a CPL shot his limbs.
Right.
Is that?
Well, from what I saw in the media, that appears to me to be a justified self-defense situation. The element of deadly force was apparently presented inside that bank, not only to the shooter himself, but to any other customer in that bank. So under that situation, then I think you're entitled to use deadly force to defend yourself and others from a life-threatening situation.
But at Home Depot, a shopper saw a shoplifter getting away, and they shot at the tires. They too had a CPL.
That to me, from what I've learned in the media, is not a justified shooting situation. The shooter, to my knowledge, did not face immediate risk of life-threatening injury or death. The shoplifter was apparently in the act of fleeing, so didn't present a threat to anybody. And the simple act of shoplifting is in fact not a life-threatening situation. So in that situation, I don't think you'd be under the law. I don't think you're entitled to use deadly force.
Though police response times in Detroit have gone down amazingly, Chief Craig has done a wonderful job in doing that, Detroit is still a very violent city. Many people are still afraid, and they want to go get a CPL, they want to go get a gun, to protect themselves at home. Even if they don't go get a CPL, they want to get a gun at home. Why is firearms training important?
Well, you're only going to be as good as your training is. Unfortunately, I think people fantasize or form an image from television that the use of a firearm in any type of shooting situation is an easy thing to do, when in fact it's truly not. On television, the bad guy always gets shot and the bad guy always falls down, and real life tells us that it's a whole lot different than that. I mean, you have to be proficient with your firearm, and you have to be mentally and physically prepared to use that firearm to defend yourself. So we're big here at Action Impact about continuing your firearm education, because we know, as a matter of fact, that simply owning a gun is not enough.
What is this next level training you offer?
Next level training is a series of courses that we've developed that would prepare you for life-threatening situations that you might encounter in your urban environment, such as home invasions, such as carjacking, such as street robberies, such as the situation you saw at the bank. We teach people techniques and absolutely how to use that firearm to protect themselves and or their family. Like I said, just owning a gun is not enough. You're going to really have to know how to use it, and you're only going to learn that from a good instructor, and you're only going to be able to do that after practice and training. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Otherwise, you're just living a fantasy.
Okay. Well, Bill, in our next segment, I've got a new gun user.
Sure.
I've got Kelly Garrett. She's going to come on with you. And I want you to take her through the paces as much as you can and show what's really involved in owning a gun and firing that gun for protection. Can you do that for me?
I'd be happy to do that with Ms. Garrett, absolutely.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back when Kelly Garrett takes the reins. We'll be right back with Detroit Wants to Know from Action Impact.
Welcome back to Detroit Wants to Know. We're coming from Action Impact. I'm Kelly Garrett, and I'm here with the owner of Action Impact, Bill Cusick.
We're going to be doing a basic shooting lesson.
Okay.
And our focus on a basic shooting lesson is two things: handgun safety, and we want to determine your accuracy and your ability to safely use this firearm. couple basic firearm safety rules that must always be followed. There are no exceptions and there are no excuses. Anytime we put this gun in our hand, our finger stays outside the trigger guard. We put it on top of the trigger guard, and we always keep this gun pointed in a safe direction. This gun cannot fire until you put your finger on the trigger. So in order to stay safe, this is going to be our very first safety rule. Finger always outside the trigger guard until we're ready to fire this gun.
Okay.
Another safety rule is always keep this gun pointed in a safe direction. I don't care what you're doing with it, whether you're shooting it, whether you're putting it down, whether you're picking it up, you will always keep it pointed in a safe direction. We're here on a dedicated range, it's always going to be down range. So whether you're loading or unloaded, you do not turn this gun in any direction other than downrange.
Okay.
Okay? Let me see if you can just follow that basic thing. Let's get your finger outside that trigger guard. Good. And let's keep it pointed in a safe direction. Go ahead and set it down so we know that you don't turn it any direction. Okay.
That was it.
We're ready to shoot. Kelly, we're going to be ready to shoot this firearm. Because
Okay.
I believe that you might be a relatively inexperienced shooter, I'm going to start with a smaller caliber handgun. This will allow me to evaluate your skill level. It'll allow you to get used to a firearm without any fear factor. And we'll eventually move up to a higher caliber gun.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is pick this gun up, always keeping your finger outside the trigger guard, and always keep it pointed downrange and in a safe direction. I want you now to insert this loaded magazine into your gun. So we're going to put it in a magazine tube and just slap it up there. Very good. That's good. All right, I want you to grab the back of this slide, pull it back, and now let it go. Okay, this gun is now loaded, and for all intents and purposes, it's ready to fire. So if you would, bring your gun up to eye level, keep your finger off that trigger till you're
Oops.
ready to fire. We're not ready to fire yet.
Right.
All right, important is that we get correct sight acquisition. We're going to use the front and the rear sight of this gun to make sure that we're sighted in on the center of this target. We look through here. Can you see that front sight?
Yes.
Can you still see that front sight?
Yes.
Is it on the center of that target?
No, it is.
Okay. I'm going to disengage the safety. This gun is now hot and it is ready to fire.
Okay.
We have our eye and ear protection on. Focusing on the sights and nothing else, go ahead and put your finger on the trigger. I want you to now focus on the sights and pull the trigger slow. And I mean slow. Very nice. Hit the X ring. I thought you might. Let's do it again. You're going to have a lighter trigger pull this time. This gun has now gone to what we refer to as single action.
Okay.
Your mechanics will remain the same. Focusing on your sights, finger on the trigger, pull it slow. And you can continue doing that. You actually hit the X, so you're doing excellent.
Oh,
Very,
Lord.
very nice. Continue. A little bit hot.
Yeah. I have a.
Okay, even when that happens, we make sure we keep the gun. It's important that both thumbs stay on the side of the gun. If you were to cross your thumb over, there's a good chance this slide would come back and cut your thumb. We don't
Ugh.
want that.
Okay.
So let's line our sights up. I don't think you're quite lined up
No.
right now. I believe you might be.
I am.
And continue doing what you've been doing. Pulling that trigger slow. Okay, good. I think you're good enough that we're going to move up to a higher caliber gun.
Okay.
That was a 22 caliber, just so you know, for future reference.
Okay.
And I now shoot a 9mm. I'm going to double check, make sure I have the right firearm, because they all are very similar.
Okay.
And I do, in fact, have the right firearm, and I have the right ammunition. So you're going to pick this gun up in the same fashion you picked that one up. Finger outside the trigger guard, gun pointed in a safe direction. Take this magazine and insert it into the magazine tube and slap it up there.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, it's in there?
It's in. I want you to grab the back of this slide, pull it towards you, and let it go. And I mean let it go. Good. This gun is now ready to fire.
Okay.
So with a two-hand hold like you did with the other gun, very good. I want proper sight acquisition. Can you in fact see your front sight now?
Yes.
Okay. This gun's going to have a little bit more recoil than the gun you just shot. The recoil's not going to hurt you, but you're going to feel more compression and you're going to feel more power from this gun because it's a bigger bullet.
Okay.
Finger on the trigger, focused on the sights. I want you to pull the trigger slow. Very
Holy
nice.
moly.
Absolute perfect bullseye. Let's do it again. See if you can shoot the exact same spot. Focus on the sights, nothing else, then pull the trigger slow. You are doing excellent. Excellent.
I hate the bullets.
Don't worry about those places.
Thank you.
Focus on your sights, nothing else,
Okay.
then pull the trigger slow. You are doing absolutely outstanding. Continue doing the same thing. Okay, our slide is locked back, and what that tells us is the gun is now empty.
Okay.
And a well-functioning firearm, gun will lock back, and the gun's empty. That's what we've got. I double check. I always double check to make sure this gun is in fact empty. I can look right down into the barrel off the feed ramp. I know this gun's empty. We'll look at this gun and make sure it's empty. And we've engaged the safety. So actually, you've done absolutely excellent. And I thought that you might.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bill, for teaching me how to shoot, and thank you for watching Detroit Wants to Know. I'm Kelly Garrett, and for all you would-be robbers, this is only my second time shooting, so you might want to be careful.
People move